Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a play. The Washington Commanders are spiraling again, and the frustration across the fanbase is reaching a boiling point. After a 3-7 start and 5 straight losses, including a deflating Week 10 defeat to the Detroit Lions, the team that once dreamed of a Super Bowl run now finds itself buried in chaos and controversy. In the eye of that storm sits an unexpected target, star wide receiver Terry McLaurin. Yes, the same Terry McLaurin who has been one of the few consistent bright spots for Washington in the past 7 years. The same player who has carried this franchise through dysfunction, quarterback instability, and coaching changes, yet somehow, through the magic of social media outrage and fan frustration, McLaurin has become the scapegoat of choice for a team that can't seem to get out of its own way. It's the kind of storyline that feels absurd even to say out loud. How did we get from Terry McLaurin, team captain and heart of the Commanders, to McLaurin is ruining team chemistry? The answer, as usual in the sports world, lies in the perfect cocktail of disappointment, injury, and internet speculation. When the Commanders entered the season, optimism was sky high. New leadership under head coach Dan Quinn was supposed to bring discipline and identity. The arrival of rookie quarterback Jayden brought hope for the future, and a defense led by Joe Witt Jr. was expected to finally stop folding in key moments. But fast forward to November, and those dreams have crumbled. The defense has been a sieve. Witt Jr. has been demoted from defensive coordinator, and the offense is barely functional. In that environment, fans start searching for villains, and when the coaching staff already has its share of blame, attention turns toward the players. Unfortunately for McLaurin, his preseason contract dispute with general manager Adam Peters was just enough fuel for fans to light the fire. All it took was a few months of frustration, a couple of injuries, and a handful of misleading social media posts for that narrative to explode. Suddenly, McLaurin wasn't just injured, he was distracted, selfish, or not a real leader. It's the kind of ridiculous leap that only exists in the echo chamber of fan emotion. The reality is far less dramatic. McLaurin's off-season holdout was about business, not attitude. He was negotiating a contract that reflected his value, a fair and common practice in the NFL, where careers are short and guarantees are precious. Once the deal got done, he returned ready to play. But football doesn't follow the script fans want it to. He got hurt twice, and since then, his impact has been limited. He's only appeared in 4 games this season, clearly not at full strength, yet instead of empathy, he's met with accusations that he's not committed enough, not visible enough, or somehow not loyal to the team that he's carried for years. Things got even stranger when a completely false rumor started making rounds online that McLaurin wasn't even showing up to games. The rumor caught enough traction that Jayden's own mother, Ms. Jackson, felt compelled to step in and shut it down. FYI, you know he's been at both games, she wrote on social media. When Jayden got hurt, he was in the locker room and he was there at the Lions game. That should have been the end of it. But as anyone who's spent 5 minutes on Twitter, or whatever Elon Musk is calling it now, knows, the truth doesn't spread nearly as fast as outrage does. And that's the saddest part of this whole situation. Terry McLaurin is one of the last people who deserves this kind of treatment. This is a guy who has played through bad quarterback play, through losing seasons, through the name changes and ownership turmoil. He's been the definition of professionalism, showing up, working hard, leading by example, never throwing teammates under the bus. The fact that some fans have now turned on him says less about McLaurin and more about how desperate and disillusioned this fanbase has become. It's what happens when years of frustration boil over into blind anger. Injuries happen. They're part of football. They don't care if you held out for a contract or if you're the first one in the weight room. McLaurin's injuries could have happened to anyone. They're not a reflection of conditioning or effort. But that's the problem with narratives built on frustration. They don't care about logic. They just need a target, and McLaurin, being one of the few recognizable faces on the roster, is easy to find. The Commanders' losing streak, the lack of chemistry, the underwhelming play, all of it becomes easier to digest if fans can blame it on something tangible. And what's more tangible than the star receiver who isn't producing like he used to? The irony is painful. If McLaurin were healthy and the Commanders were 7-3 instead of 3-7, no one would be talking about his contract or questioning his leadership. Winning fixes everything. But losing, Especially the kind of losing Washington is doing right now. Tears everything apart. It fractures locker rooms, divides fan bases, and distorts reality. That's what we're seeing unfold. McLaren isn't the problem. He's just the most convenient lightning rod. It's also telling that even within the organization, McLaren's reputation remains intact. Coaches, players, even former teammates have spoken highly of him. There's no whisper of tension, no sign of disengagement. He's still mentoring younger receivers, still present on the sidelines, still vocal in meetings. That's what leaders do, even when they can't contribute physically. But try explaining that to a fan who just watched their team blow a 10-point lead. Rational thought disappears in moments like that. The Commanders, meanwhile, have bigger issues than one wide receiver. The defense has been inconsistent, often looking unprepared for the simplest defensive schemes. The offensive line continues to struggle in pass protection, putting immense pressure on a rookie quarterback still learning how to navigate NFL speed. Dan Quinn's in-game adjustments have been slow, and the team's morale appears to be slipping. That's not a McLaren problem. That's an organizational one, and unless Washington fixes those structural issues, no amount of scapegoating will make a difference. What's remarkable is how McLaren himself has handled the entire situation. No angry posts, no passive-aggressive interviews, no shade toward fans or management, just silence, focus, and quiet professionalism. That's been his calling card since day one. And it's that same calm presence that will be crucial when he eventually returns to the field. Because make no mistake, when he's healthy again, he'll remind everyone exactly who he is. One of the most dependable, intelligent, and hard-working receivers in the game. The Washington Commanders need Terry McLaurin more than they realize. He's not just a player, he's a stabilizing force. He's the kind of leader young guys like Jayden Daniels look up to. Someone who embodies resilience and accountability. If fans truly want this team to climb out of its current hole, they'd be wise to stop tearing down one of the few pieces actually worth keeping. Because once players like McLaurin start feeling alienated or unappreciated, that's when you lose the soul of a franchise. Right now, Washington's problem isn't effort or talent, it's direction. The organization is caught between a rebuild and a failed expectation of contention, and that limbo creates tension, but blaming the wrong people only makes the spiral worse. Fans should be angry. Yes, they have every right to demand better. But the energy needs to be aimed at the real issues, the coaching inconsistencies, the lack of adjustments, the weak execution in crunch time. McLaurin has earned the benefit of the doubt 100 times over. So here's the reality check. Terry McLaurin isn't the villain of this story. He's just another casualty of misplaced frustration. His body gave out, not his commitment. His loyalty never wavered, even when the team around him crumbled, and when he comes back, when he's finally healthy again. The same fans booing him today will be cheering his name when he hauls in a 40-yard touchdown down the sideline. That's how sports work. Memory is short. Success heals everything. Until then, the Commanders have to find a way to steady the ship. Dan Quinn has to regain control of the locker room. Jayden Daniels needs protection and confidence. The defense must rediscover its edge, and the fans, well, they need a reminder of who's really fighting for this team. Because Terry McLaurin always has been and still is one of the few who actually bleed burgundy and gold for real. The sooner everyone remembers that, the sooner Washington can start rebuilding not just its season, but its identity. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Rumors are swirling around the Commanders organization, and if the whispers in the locker room are to be believed, things are far from the calm, controlled environment that fans see on social media or during interviews. Sources inside the team are suggesting that Jayden Daniels, the young quarterback who's been under a microscope since he first took snaps with the team, recently reached a breaking point behind closed doors. According to insiders, Daniels completely lost his composure in the locker room, letting out frustrations that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. "I'm done pretending everything's fine," he reportedly shouted, throwing his helmet onto the floor with a force that caught everyone off guard. While these moments are never meant to be public knowledge, the fact that whispers of this incident are making their way to journalists and fans suggests it left an impression that's impossible to ignore. The quarterback, known for his competitive drive and fiery spirit, is said to have been bottling up a combination of pressure, criticism, and internal team dynamics that had reached a tipping point. Team staff reportedly tried to calm him down, but sources claim that Daniels was not in the mood for pep talks or corporate platitudes. He wanted to speak his mind and make it clear that he was no longer willing to mask his frustrations for the sake of appearances. What makes this story particularly intriguing is the timing. Daniels has been dealing with increased scrutiny from both the media and the fanbase, with many critics pointing to inconsistencies in his performances and questioning his leadership under pressure. Teammates have reportedly noticed a change in his demeanor in recent weeks, describing him as more tense, irritable, and visibly frustrated during meetings and practice sessions. Those closest to him say he has been carrying a heavy weight, trying to balance his own high expectations with the demands placed upon him by coaches and management in the locker room incident. It seems that this accumulation of stress finally reached a boiling point. While the Commanders' organization has maintained a public face of unity and focus, insiders say that behind the scenes, tensions have been mounting. Players and staff alike were reportedly stunned by the intensity of Daniels' outburst, which went beyond mere frustration about a single game or practice. This was deeper, more personal, a raw expression of a young athlete trying to reconcile his own aspiration with the reality of professional sports. The impact of such an incident on team morale is difficult to quantify, but sports insiders are already speculating on how this might play out in the coming weeks. Leadership in professional football often hinges not just on talent, but on mental fortitude and the ability to manage emotions under extreme pressure. For a quarterback, who is effectively the face of the team and the central figure in offensive execution, public or semi-public expressions of frustration can reverberate through the entire roster. Teammates reportedly had mixed reactions. Some understood where Daniels was coming from, empathizing with the pressure cooker environment he navigates every week, while others were concerned that such an emotional display could further destabilize a locker room that already feels the strain of high expectations. Coaches are reportedly evaluating the situation carefully, balancing the need to support their quarterback with the necessity of maintaining professional standards and cohesion within the team. Sources indicate that one of the challenges is Daniels' intense personality, which can inspire those around him but also lead to volatility when combined with the high stakes of NFL competition, adding fuel to the fire. The rumor mill suggests that Daniels' frustration isn't solely about his own performance. Teammates hint at a broader dissatisfaction with how the organization is handling team dynamics, communication, and accountability. The quarterback is reportedly concerned about the direction of the team, the clarity of leadership, and what he perceives as inconsistent expectations from the coaching staff. While these claims are unverified, they are consistent with the narrative shared by players who have experienced the pressures of high-level professional football, where the gap between locker room reality and public presentation is often wide. The Commanders, like any NFL franchise, face constant scrutiny from fans, analysts, and media, creating an environment where small incidents can escalate quickly into larger storylines. Daniels' moment of emotional release in the locker room, therefore, has already become a focal point for discussions about team culture, leadership, and the psychological toll of competing at the highest level of the sport. Those close to the team hint that Daniels is not someone who expresses frustration lightly. Unlike players who internalize their struggles or keep their emotions tightly controlled, Daniels is known for wearing his heart on his sleeve, and when he reaches a breaking point, it tends to be dramatic and undeniable. Insiders recount that this particular outburst included direct statements aimed at teammates and coaches, not in an accusatory sense, but as a challenge, a declaration that he would no longer settle for surface-level pretenses of harmony or efficiency. Some teammates reportedly found his honesty refreshing, while others were left uncertain about how to respond. What is clear, however, is that this incident has intensified conversations around accountability, team culture, and what it truly means to lead in the high-pressure environment of the NFL. Coaches, meanwhile, are said to be carefully navigating how to address the situation publicly while also providing support privately, balancing the need to maintain authority and composure with the reality that a young quarterback's mental state is crucial to team success. The incident has also sparked a wider discussion among fans and analysts about the pressures placed on quarterbacks in modern football. Daniels, still early in his career, embodies the tension between talent, potential, and expectation. While critics have been quick to point out mistakes or inconsistencies, supporters argue that his emotional intensity is part of what makes him a dynamic and capable leader when properly channeled. This latest locker room episode serves as a reminder that professional athletes are not machines. They are human beings navigating extraordinary pressures, expectations, and personal ambitions. The Commanders' fanbase is now abuzz with speculation. How will this outburst affect team chemistry? Will it spark a shift in leadership dynamics? Or is it simply a fleeting moment of frustration that will soon pass? The lack of official comment from the organization only adds to the intrigue, leaving room for endless debate, analysis, and of course, the inevitable rumor mill that thrives on ambiguity. While the public has yet to hear from Daniels directly, insiders suggest that he is reflecting on the incident and its implications for both his personal growth and the trajectory of the team. Some reports hint at private meetings with coaches and mentors to navigate the emotional fallout and channel his intensity more effectively. Meanwhile, locker room dynamics are reportedly tense, but not irreparably damaged. Teammates understand that the outburst, while dramatic, comes from a place of passion and commitment rather than malice. This nuanced understanding underscores a larger truth about professional sports. The line between frustration and motivation, between conflict and leadership, is incredibly thin. In this light, Daniels' moment of emotional honesty may be less about discord and more about a catalyst for deeper conversations about expectations, accountability, and the kind of leadership necessary to succeed in the NFL. Sources close to the team describe a quiet but growing dialogue among players, coaches, and staff about how to create an environment where honesty is valued, without letting emotions undermine cohesion or focus. As the story continues to circulate, the intrigue shows no signs of fading. Every practice, meeting, and sideline interaction is now being scrutinized, with fans and commentators trying to read between the lines for clues about Daniels' mindset and the team's internal dynamics. Analysts are weighing in on the psychological pressures quarterbacks face and debating how much of the outburst reflects individual temperament versus systemic issues within the organization. Social media, as always, has amplified every hint and whisper, turning a private locker room incident into a public narrative ripe for discussion and speculation. The Commanders' organization, meanwhile, remains silent in the official channels, neither confirming nor denying the details, which only feeds the rumor mill further. For those following the story closely, it's a reminder that behind every game, every highlight, and every official statement, there exists a complex web of personalities, tensions, and human emotions that fans rarely see, but that define the reality of professional football. Jayden Daniels' outburst may have been a single moment, but its ripples are already being felt across the organization, sparking conversations that could shape the team's culture, leadership, and identity for months to come. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.